Um, but I think that there are some things that are so complex and are so difficult that a 10-minute video can't really do them justice. And there are ideas that I want to articulate to you, and there are metaphors that I want to share with you. And I just don't think, I found it really difficult to essentially articulate some of these ideas in a 10-minute video. So I wanted to use this hour to be able to still share with you some of the journal entries and the things that I've been thinking about. And you know what my philosophy is? You know, I share with you guys of the reason why I started journal entries. I hold the philosophy that essentially, look, not everybody is going to be able to become rich. Not everybody is going to be able to become successful. Not everybody is going to be able to have positions of influence, positions of power. But every single person on this planet has an amazing advantage in that we have lessons that we've learned, we have insights, we have knowledge, we have skills that we've acquired. And what I believe is, even though we may not be super wealthy, a politician, a CEO, we may not be millionaires and billionaires, we can still take all the resources in terms of our knowledge, our skills, our experience, and impart it onto the next generation so that they can actually have a head start, so that they can live an even abundant life than we did. You guys know the philosophy that I hold. One of the philosophies that I hold is that your children need to do better than you, right? If your kids do worse than you, then as a parent, you should be questioning, where did I go wrong? Because, you know, if you are a parent and you only earn 20K, if your child earns 10K, then there is a problem, right? Because the world isn't going backwards. The world is actually is constantly going forward and constantly moving. Most of you know that we live in this era that the late Peter Drucker called the era of the three C's, which is accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. Guys, the world is not slowing down. The world is becoming even more complex than ever before. So, as people, as leaders, as fathers, as brothers, as sisters, as cousins, as members of our community, we want to ensure that we are equipped, that we are operating at our full capacity so that we can help the next generation go to lengths that even we couldn't dream of. I mean, isn't that really the dream of every parent? For their child to reach accolades that they couldn't even ever imagine. You know, sometimes I think about David Beckham and I think, imagine David Beckham's parents. When David Beckham's parents were raising him and he was 3 and 5 and 6 and 7, did they ever imagine that David Beckham could be able to reach the echelons that he's managed to do? He's got a football career that's flourished and has been absolutely successful. He's got influence in all kinds of areas. He's won a knighthood, I believe, or an MBE. By From Buckingham Palace. He is got amassed a huge amount of followers on social media. He's got a great income. He's got a wife. He's got children behind him. Right? Like, can you imagine? Right, that he's now got to the point where he's got underwear, he's got a clothing brand, he does brand deals, he just started a football academy, a football academy, I believe. And you just think about that, and you just think, how in the world could David Beckham's parents ever have predicted that these are the kind of echelons that David Beckham would ever be able to reach? And the reality is, they wouldn't, right? But David Beckham's parents did the best that they could with what they had to set him up so that he could be able to achieve an incredible kind of life. I'm saying this to you guys, and you may be wondering, like, Kasim, obviously people should do that. I don't think people do that. I don't think that many of us are what I call generational thinkers. Many of us don't think in terms of the next generation, right? In fact, I was actually thinking about this. This isn't what I want to talk to you about in my journal entries, but I was thinking about the fact that if you look throughout all of history, essentially every single generation has been working and making sacrifices so that the next generation could be better off than the generation that's just been. But we're living in a time today where actually there is a generation of people who are no longer thinking about the future, who are no longer thinking about the next generation, right? Who we're not setting our lives up as people so that our children have an inheritance. And it just means that our children are basically going to start off from the absolute bottom like we did, which is fine for some people, because some people will say, Cass, that's I don't want to give my kids anything because I don't want them to be spoiled. But I believe that that is the wrong philosophy to hold, because I believe that we want to be able to set our kids up not with everything that they want, but with the basics, with the foundations, right? It's much easier to create a property empire when your parents can help you buy your first investment by giving you 50% of the income. Right now, that doesn't mean that they've given you everything, but your parents helping you out with 50% of the deposit to buy your first flat, which you're going to rent out, is much easier than you having to save all of the money to be able to buy that first investment. Does that kind of make sense? So that's essentially what the philosophy that I hold on that. And I don't know whether you agree with me. I mean, obviously we can have a conversation about this. Comment below. I want to hear what you think. Do you think that we're living in a generation where a lot of us are thinking about the next generation? We're planning for them. We're making sacrifices to make their life easier. I obviously want to hear from you. Before I actually get further into this video, guys, if you want to help and support me get to 1,000 subscribers by June, please can you like and subscribe to my channel? I'd absolutely appreciate it. You'd be an absolute legend. Okay, right, so let me actually talk about some of the things that I've been reflecting on this week, some of the things that I've been thinking about, and I hope that they can maybe trigger something in you. I hope that maybe they can